I have such a good feeling about this year. Like, I feel like this is your year. I feel like 2025 is going to be the year that things just blow up for you, that things just work for you. You've been putting all this grind in this year, last year, past 5 years. You've been putting in the work silently, planting those seeds silently. You know, you are about to see the fruits of your labor. And this is a thing, you know, something that really reassures me when I think about success and when I think about like becoming the best version of ourselves. I always think of the plateau of latent potential, and I put it on the screen. It's a concept in Atomic Habits where there is this space between really going for what you want, really putting in the work, putting in the grind, putting in those roots, and then actually seeing the fruits of your labor, actually seeing things work. And that bit is where like most people give up. But you didn't. That's where most people, in that gap, they're like, nothing's working, I can't see anything working, so I'm going to stop. And you haven't stopped. You've carried on despite not seeing results, despite not seeing kind of the achievements come to fruition yet. You carried on despite the fact that you couldn't physically see it, but you knew that you had a vision in your head. You knew that something was going to come of your effort, something was going to come of you putting in that work, even when you couldn't see it yet. And those are the people that are successful. I know it's been hard this year. You have felt like giving up so often. You have felt as though like things just aren't working. You know, you're trying different strategies, you're trying different things, you're pivoting, you're experimenting, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And you know, personally for me this year, like I was on such a roll like during summer, and then it's just slowed down ever since September, and I'm like, have I fallen off? Like, are things like not working? And it's just really good to remember that your journey is not linear. You chose a path that is going to be ups and downs. It's not like corporate work. It's not like going to a 9 to 5 where, you know, if you put in this work, you get this amount of money. If you put in this time, you get this amount of money. If you put in this amount of like dedication and whatever, you will get this promotion. Bitch, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. When you're going for something unorthodox, when you're going for a different path, there are going to be ups and downs. There's going to be times when you're like, I'm growing and growing and growing. I'm on an upward trajectory and I'm never stopping. And then sometimes it will just suddenly dip. And that's okay. But the good thing is, over time and over years, by the way, this has not happened in like 2 years. This happens in like a decade, if not 2. You want longevity in your success. And eventually, all these little bumps are going to like flatten out into this upward trajectory. That is fundamentally where it's happening. Yeah, there'll be ups and downs on like a day-to-day basis, on like a monthly basis, or even like on a yearly basis. But over the course of years, it will be an upward trajectory. And you are on that journey. So do not get bogged down with things not working on a monthly basis, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, or even a yearly basis. Some years are foundational. You know, honestly, in 2023, that was like a foundational year for me. I was like figuring out what I wanted to do. I was like trying new things, experimenting, laying the groundwork to then really go for it last year, or this year even. I mean, it's still 2024, so we've still got like, what, 1 day left. I know that 2025 is my year, just like it's your year. You've laid the foundation, you've put in the groundwork, you've been sowing the seeds, and all of it is going to boom. All of it's going to work. All of it is going to come to fruition, I promise you, because right now you are in that plateau of latent potential. You are in that bit that you just need to keep going that little bit longer and everything's going to blow up for you. You're building that momentum. You've built so much momentum already. It's just waiting for that moment when something clicks, when something sticks, when some opportunity comes along and is your big break. Now you need to be patient for that. You need to let that happen naturally. And I think it's so difficult when we are people that are ambitious, we are driven, we want the best things for ourselves as soon as we can, and we're willing to put in the work for it, and then we don't see it for a while. We have to be patient. It's just one of the facts, one of the realities of being in entrepreneurship, being a creator, being an artist, is that patience is pretty much 90% of it. Because you can do all the work, you can put in all the effort, you can put in all the right strategy, you can learn, you can gain new skills, but ultimately you have to wait for all that stuff that you have built up yourself to come to fruition with one opportunity, one stroke of luck, being in the right place at the right time. You're waiting for that big break right now. It's coming. And 2025 is going to be your year because you've put in the work for it. I want 2025 for you to be where you go from passive in your own life, a passenger in your own life, to being active, proactive in your own life. Doing things, whirring away in the background, nobody can see what you're doing, to being proactive, to being, confident in your light, to showing off more. Show off more. This is your year to show off your capacity, your greatness, and your magic. This is, you've been working in the background, you have been silent, you have been, modest, you have not necessarily celebrated your wins. 2025 is for you to showcase your mettle, what you really have to offer. I think when we kind of talk about going from passive to proactive, it's doing things out of your comfort zone. This is like the intangible value that a lot of successful people frankly rely on in order to get to where they want to be. So you've got the work, you've got the foundation, you've got, your skill, your USP, your brand, who you are, like your value. All you need is a opportunity. And you know how you're gonna get that? Social capital, human capital, striking up a conversation with a stranger, going into a coffee shop and having a chat with a barista, complimenting somebody on their appearance, something that you like about them, talking to new people, putting yourself out there, doing talks, doing presentations, doing public speaking. That's where you are going to find your big break. By putting yourself out there, by going from passive, I'll see how it goes, to being active, to being deliberate with you seeking opportunity. That's what you've got to do. Putting your content out there, posting more frequently, telling people to go and follow you on other platforms, telling people where they need to go to buy your product. Being active and deliberate and intentional with what you want from people and what you want to create for yourself. Become that person, even if you aren't right now in the space that you want to be in, even if you're not in the place that you want to be in, become that person now. Become the person who's assertive, become the person who's confident in public speaking, because that's fundamentally how you're going to do it. We only have the present. It's not a future version of you that's eventually going to be good with public speaking, that will eventually be able to perform, that will eventually be able to have the confidence to post content, will have the confidence to go and speak to a stranger. You do that in the present tense. You do that now. You start doing that now. And I'm not saying go straight from being really shy to then doing a massive public speaking event, or being really shy and then posting consistently for a year straight. No. What I'm saying is try something small. It's by stealth. Success happens by stealth. And this is what I feel like people often see. They see, even me, I'm guilty of this. We see on social media, these people with 400,000 followers, 1 million followers, and you think to yourself, how the fuck did they get there? That's crazy. And they got there by small steps. It wasn't something that happened overnight 99% of the time. Even the makeup look that I have today, it's by a culmination of interest in different hairstyles, trying out different looks, trying out makeup. I've been doing makeup since I was 13 years old. So I've essentially got nearly 15 years worth of makeup momentum accrued to be able to create something a bit alternative and try things out with my makeup. Same with my fashion. It's all small things that I have tried or experimented with or added value to myself over time in terms of my aesthetic that has landed me with this kind of vibe. It's not something that happened overnight. I didn't go from being minimalist and the clean girl aesthetic to suddenly this. It happened by stealth. It happened by experimenting, trying new things, trying different aesthetics out and experimenting. And it's the same thing with success. It doesn't happen overnight. Somebody doesn't usually go from 0 to £1 million overnight unless they win the lottery. Usually they started off with, maybe they made £100 profit in 1 month. And then the next month it was 50 quid, and then it was 50 quid for 2 years, and then suddenly they have a bit of a spike and they start to earn £1,000 per month or £2,000 per month, and over time that accumulates and then it becomes a 10 grand month, and then suddenly they're making 6 figures that year. It happens because you've created that momentum. It happens because of all the value that you have added on consistently on a daily basis, weekly basis, that has culminated in you creating something big. All these followers, they would have started out with 0 followers. So how do they gain the followers? Well, probably experimented with different things. They worked out what worked and over time capitalized on what worked and capitalized on themselves and gained more confidence. And the more confident you are, the more people that are drawn into you and the more people are going to follow you and then support your product, support what you're doing, support you as a person. And over time, that compounds. Everybody knows that the more followers you have, the more money you have, the more money you can create, the more followers you can gain. Past a certain point, you actually incrementally have to put in less effort. So it's always the way, it's like a thin end of the wedge. Right at the beginning, you have to put in the maximum amount of effort in order to gain even like a few followers. You start off with 0, so you have to put in a fuck ton of work in order to even get a few followers, in order to even break into the thousands or 10,000s. You have to put so much effort in, because that's how it works. You're at the thin end of the wedge. When you start to grow and when you start to develop a name for yourself, you start to be more authentic, you start to be you, those increasing followers will compound because you've already put in that work right from the beginning, and that momentum has built up to the point where it's a lot easier for you. This is the delayed gratification that a lot of us struggle with. A lot of people that want great things for themselves, we struggle with this, and this is why patience is so key, because delayed gratification is like literally at the core of people that choose an alternative path, that choose to work for themselves. That's what you've got to think about when you feel like, oh fuck, this is not working, like things aren't working. Yeah, but if you don't carry on, you'll never see it come to fruition. You'll never see the fruits of your labor, because you've built up so much value already. Just because it's not been recognized yet, just because you haven't found your community yet or your audience, or been able to find clients yet, doesn't mean that it's not valuable. It doesn't mean that it's not going to, when it hits the right people. Okay, so just know that at the thin end of the wedge, you will question yourself a lot. You will wonder if it's working, but it is. It's just that there's that delayed gratification. You will not see it for a while, and then suddenly you'll get to a point where maybe you've got 10k, or you've got like, I don't know, 20k or 8, whatever it is, like 100k, and suddenly everything feels easy. But it's not easy. It's just that all that work that you put in before when it was hard is now coming to fruition. It's now presenting you with the value that held. All that work you did before is only coming to the surface now. That's what I mean about it not being linear. It's not like you do one email or you put one video out and then you'll get something in return, you'll get something equal in return. No, you can put like so much out at the beginning that doesn't kind of show itself or reveal itself until much later on. So it's not linear. It's like you have to wait a lot for something to work. And then when it does, it will just like blow up. And that's why I'm so excited for you in 2025, because that's gonna happen. Your work is gonna pay off. Your effort is not for nothing. It's not in vain. It's going to show itself. It's going to reveal itself. It's going to come to fruition this year or this coming year. Successful people understand that they just have to keep going long enough for something to work. A lot of my favourite creators, they often say, I don't really know what I did different, but suddenly I just blew up from this one video or this one piece of content or this one thing that I did. I don't even know what I did differently. And that's the thing, there's no right or wrong reason. There's no way of like knowing or predicting success. It's really just carrying on until something works. And that's what a lot of people don't want to do, but you do. You'll carry on until something works, because you have that faith that as long as you keep going, something will eventually stick. It literally has to. One of my favourite quotes from Mel Robbins is that, she says to herself, there's no way that you're putting in all this work and it's not gonna come to fruition. It's not gonna work. I feel like I've said that phrase so often now. There is just no way that what you're doing and the effort that you're putting in is not going to work. There's no way. It has to. But it only does if you carry on until something works. Okay, do not let all the work that you've already done go to waste. Everything matters as well. It's not just maybe like your intellectual capital or your social capital or your financial capital. It's your aesthetic capital. Every single time you adjust yourself to be more authentic, or you present yourself in a way that's a bit more unique, you are adding value to your unique brand or your USP. Every single time you add a new skill. For example, I wasn't expecting to get into a sales job this year, but I did, and I'm so glad that I did, because I've gained so much more confidence, which is going to let me or enable me to perform more this year, to be a singer and like showcase my singing more this year, and go to acting classes this year and do dancing this year, because I've gained the confidence to make mistakes publicly. I've gained the confidence to be good at thinking on the spot and to be improvising on the spot. I wasn't expecting to gain that skill this year, but it's set me up for success this year, when I'm going to be the boldest I've ever been in my entire life. You're going to be bold. You're going to be the most audacious you've ever been. You're going to be radically uncompromising with your boundaries and what you choose to tolerate and what you choose to like let in or leave out of your life. That thing that you're like, I don't know how it's going to work. Like, I don't know when it's going to work. Like I feel so far away from my goal. Like I feel like it's just, you know, it's so far in the distance. No, it's not. Because as we know, things accumulate, things compound, and it's not going to be at the same pace all the time. You know, right at the beginning, it's tough, it's hard, it's difficult building something. And then eventually it will get to this like tipping point where it feels very flow state, where it feels very easy, it feels very natural, and it feels very, it kind of like starts to rev and the pistons start to go harder and it starts to build momentum, and suddenly it's just this like massive growth. It can happen like that, but only if you put in the work. And you put in the work this year. So there is no reason, there is no way that all this hard work that you're doing is not going to pay off. Because it will.